welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to a couple of new Patreons, one that caught me by surprise last time I shouted about, but Original D-Rose, Rod, and indeed new Patreon, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, who recently increased his contribution. Thank you very much indeed, Christoph. John Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealon's Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
The fight game going, Tommy?
I'm good, man. Good. How are you getting on? I forgot his name now. I know your voice though. Neil, what you saying?
Everything is good. Everything is good.
You saying anyway? Yeah, everything's good, man. Just I seen a few messages. Someone said to come back on the forum and that and say hello. So I thought I'd jump in today because I watched the debate. Some of the TikTokers and that have been going out. I've been in the chats in there. Me and Chemo have been schooling quite a lot of the guys on TikTok, and you know how terrible fucking Chemo is, and he managed to do pretty well on there. And so I've been trying to urge like Nathan and everyone else to get on TikTok and stuff because I think that you hold his arguments a very, very profound way, and I think as long as you stick out, you can be the most obnoxious person you ever imagine on TikTok, and they'll love you. They'll love you. I reckon Nathan will do amazing, personally, because I think he's got a big, strong Brummie accent, and I think I'm just trying to search his profile now so I can share his content because I've got about 12,000 people, and I know Chemo's got about 20,000. So like, you can reshare the content. So all I have to do is click on his profile, and I can reshare Nathan's posts, and then hopefully we can get him an audience. And then when he does lives on here, he can do it also on TikTok, and the TikTok audience is crazy. There's these really, really, really shit Globers defending it, like really basic Globers defending the Globe on TikTok, and they're doing well. They're doing really well, and they're so bad. Even I've managed to like just bring simple things to them, and they just won't digest it. So you guys just screaming and standing out. He's gonna do great, and I'd love to see how you get on TikTok because I think that YouTube's quite limited. And what's up?
They still try to debunk flat Earth by saying we have sunsets. Are you kidding me?
Still on the sunsets.
Sunsets.
Even the sun's glare over the ocean. Even the glare that the sun gives over the ocean, that nice, long, straight, flat glare of light that reflects up all you simultaneously over a long ocean. Even the sunset itself show you that every bit of the light that the sun touches is flat and reflects evenly. It's like a mirror, almost hundreds of miles of ocean. Well,
I'm gonna actually say something I really shouldn't, but there's a good video in Mass D. I think Dave Weiss put it out. It's all the elites talking about flat Earth, dropping in their little jewels, but they all mentioned flat Earth. It was actually a good video, but I left a comment for them. But they're very afraid. They're very afraid because flat Earth is gaining momentum like you would not believe. That these people have to talk about it and shut it down. Trying to say basic tells us that the Earth is round. Oh, really? First of all, you don't know what you're talking about because it doesn't fall inside of the scientific method, the nature of Earth. But this is what they tell the people, and the people believe them. But yeah, I went on Jim
But
Hampton the other day, though.
Good one. Yeah, what happened there?
Oh, they told me that atmospheric pressure is different than gas pressure. You know,
You know
I
what?
have to
Which
learn
pressure
these things. I can get in there this right.
which
Yeah,
pressure is
they
but
say
different
it's
to what?
different things.
Mate, they argue semantics quite a lot. And they'll just go over loads of different things and never concede any sort of points. And then they'll go for every single topic that you can expand on better than they can. And they'll still just go, oh, yeah, well, I believe the experts. I rely on the experts.
Yeah, Jim said they have measurements. I said no, we have measurements, and whatever measurements you've taken are off a flat plane. So you're pretty much hanging yourself there, Jim.
Is that video you were talking about, Neil? Is that the one Brian posted about the politics and that they
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
All
it's
right,
very good though. I gotta give him credit.
Right.
That was a good one.
Right. The name of the video is called "Politicians, Flat Earth, They Know," and I'll post it on Discord too.
Oh, yeah. So what we're looking at anyway? What do I search for Nathan Oakley's TikTok? What's it called again?
Nathan Oakley.
Oh, so... the voice, was that someone's recording of his voice, or was that actually him? Nathan
That was Nathan.
Oakley. Yeah, I hate when people. Some people got them buttons in it and voice activate. There we are. There he is. Oh, there he is. 58 followers. There we go. Let's have a look. Following 0 people. Right. So which video should I share? You got no videos of yourself on there yet, have you?
Yeah.
You got no videos of yourself on there yet?
Yes, obviously, it's all of me.
Jaren First Death. It must be on the wrong one then. Must be on the wrong profile. Double check. The one I've got, it's got Nathan Oakley 1980. 0. You follow with 0 people. You have 59 followers. Is that it's the only one I can seem to find on TikTok?
No, I've got followers. I've got about 100 videos.
Oh, I can't find you. All one word, yeah?
I think so. I honestly can't remember. I'll have a look. I think it's probably Nathan Oakley 1980.
The one I've got 1980 on TikTok has only got 59 followers.
Yeah, that's it right there.
That's probably me.
Oh,
A relatively new
about
account.
100 you said. Yeah, I can't see any. That's what I mean, though. There's no videos of it on the profile here with you on
Hey,
there.
Nathan, you down to give TikTok another shot or mirror towards it or something?
Right, every time I uploaded videos, they gave me copyright strikes and shit for things I hadn't done. Like YouTube, but 10 times worse.
You joking me?
We told
No.
you how to do it, Gene. You take a video and you post it, so he don't get the copyright strike, whatever he gets.
It's not copyright. They're just community guideline strikes they were giving me.
Whatever.
And then because I was unfamiliar with the software, in one instance, I re-uploaded the video identically. And it went up, got published, no issue. But the exact same video 10 minutes earlier got me a community guideline strike on TikTok. So like, okay, so on the one hand, you've let the video out into the public, gathering views. On the other hand, because I accidentally duplicated it, or it duplicates itself in the process of uploading it, I don't quite fully understand how it did it. But there was an extra version of the same video, so I just published that. And it went out fine. You're like, what the hell? Okay.
Oh,
After
I think it's when you save the video on in TikTok, it will do like an imprint of the video that you've saved, uploaded. So that when you probably try to upload the same video, you've looked at the look at the video, it looks the same. But then when you actually uploaded it, at the end, it puts that TikTok thing at the end. But it does it kind of like brands the video under a TikTok video, and that's probably
gotcha.
Why it did
So it keeps my original and brands the copy. Well, either way, both got published because there's 2 versions, and one got a community guideline strike, and the other, which was identical, didn't. After about the second or third
Yeah.
time of that happening, I was just like, I sod this. It's not even earning me any money at this point. Why am I going to have the headaches and stress of doing all the work for TikTok to build up an audience? So I just stopped. I was just like, sod this.
Yeah. It is free, but it has gone through a lot of updates. But I mean, the good thing about it, if you get it, just like maybe make a new profile and then just post like videos of yourself and your arguments like clearly displayed on like
Hold on. Can I say something?
I've done that.
What I've been telling Nathan is
I've done
the live stream will get thousands of people watching live.
That's what I mean. The lives. That's what I want to get to. Is get 1,000 followers, and I can share you. I can get your lives. I get you on like my lives, and there's loads of people. We can all just you get like eight. You get like 8 people, like we got in a room like in here, and you get as people all like the content as they're watching it builds the audience, and you can get up to thousands and thousands of people watching your stuff. And I think it's just great to bring in a new channel of audience. That's all. So it'd be like a tool that will benefit you in the long run.
You're selling something that I've already done, right? What part? I've already done it. It's there.
I'm going to try and continue trying to push it.
There's 100 videos on there. There's 100 videos. Oh my god. There's 100 videos on there, right? So I've put considerable effort into TikTok. How many followers did you say? I got 53. All right. I think the biggest video I got on there was less than 1,000 views. Okay. So I should dedicate the rest of my bloody week to it? I've done it. It's there. But you're selling it to me like, oh, well, the wonders of TikTok. Yeah, I've done it. There it is. Oh, what's that? You can't even find me. So on the one hand, you're saying, I'm struggling to find you. All right, I put about a week's worth of effort into that. You can't even find me. But you say I should continue to put effort and go live on there? Fuck that.
Nathan, see yourself, Nathan.
Listen. We could post.
Hey, how many followers do you got on TikTok? You say you debate them and stuff. You say you debate them. How many followers do you have? I bet you had a lot.
Myself?
Yes, you.
Oh, well, only about just short of 13,000.
Look at that.
About 24,000.
That's amazing.
24,000 on Instagram.
That's amazing, dude. See?
What are you doing? Shout me out on TikTok. What are you doing? You're the key to me doing well on TikTok. You got 30,000 followers. I got 50.
That's what I'm trying to say to you. I can share your content and get you on the circuit and get your stuff rolling. I'm trying to help you out. Like I'm not trying to say. I'm glad that you've done this already. I'm not saying you haven't done anything because I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm just thinking that like you, as like edgy as you are, you if you got your content and you got your character on that platform. You know, if it doesn't go, it doesn't go. That's fair enough. But I'm here to reshare it, and I'm saying I've gone to your platform here now, and the videos you have uploaded. There's none of you actually on there doing what you're doing, and I think that's what sells on TikTok. It's short little videos of your little arguments, or not little arguments, but the arguments. You're saying, look, well, you know, you need a gyroscope, or blah blah blah.
Or these people go live for hours on end. They do 6-hour streams on TikTok.
That's what's on there
every day,
and they earn really good money as well, Nathan. And because we've got a good firm, like everybody on here, you've got a good group of people. Now, if all of us all made a TikTok as well, and all shared the content, and all posted and commented and helped the system within, and because you know the good thing about you hold your own ground, you hold your own platform, and that's what. You need someone like yourself who's consistent and working hard. So I just think it's a tool.
Or we could dedicate one single day out the week to streaming on TikTok. How about that? We all just use TikTok for that day.
Why?
Then we go back.
You need to get 1,000 followers first. The first thing he needs to get is his thousands of followers up. And I want to share his videos. And I'm on his content now. And I can just click share and put repost, and it shares it to my audience. So thousands of people will see it from mine. But I think that if he puts videos up of himself doing his own arguments and more of an educational sort of videos and talking about, you know, what his position or his past or whatever sort of videos.
This is a great opportunity. This is a great opportunity is what this is.
Yeah. And Chemo's even got 20,000. Even Chemo there. Like, Chemo's really ignorant. He sticks out because of his, you know, you can't work Chemo, mate, can you? Like we've all suffered Chemo's kind of.
Hey, is your name Clearly? Yeah, Clearly.
Yeah,
I mean, you got thousands of followers real quick, and and you're not blacklisted anyway on TikTok, right? Nathan is. That's a problem. He knows
Yeah.
this. He's not dumb. He knows he's blacklisted. So that's why TikTok could be a huge step in just growing it. And we're not gonna delete the YouTube. You know, we're still YouTube is the home base, but still, man, I say we get on TikTok for a while. I mean, I've been preaching to these guys about TikTok. No one believes me here. It feels like we're a bunch of dinosaurs in here.
Yeah, no, I definitely think if you did,
This is frustrating.
you work towards
Guys,
workers.
frustrating, right? No, I've put considerable effort into TikTok. What do you want? You're saying I can promote you on TikTok and make you do well. Okay, that'd be lovely. Given that I've already put the effort in, and you're like, oh, the videos aren't the right videos. Okay, they're short videos of trimmed out clips of debates within the show.
You don't even need videos. All you need is a stream. You don't need videos no more. That's how much TikTok has evolved. Even the short videos. These people, like the woman who's moderately hot and just talks about, she doesn't say a word and just lets people debate on her while they look at her, and she gets thousands of views. You know, the girl that doesn't say a word.
Maria. I met the Maria girl.
Okay, that's not me. This is getting frustrating, guys. While you waffle on about the virtues of TikTok, when I've put a shitload of work into it, and all I see is nothing but an endless amount of work for nothing. But I should do more. I just don't want to hear it anymore. If you're saying, oh, I can get you a load of followers on TikTok, wonderful. That's great. Thank you. Do that. That'd be lovely. I'll thank you when you do. But in the meantime, what I'm hearing is we can do more for TikTok. TikTok's doing fuck all for me, lads. Let's just be honest about this. So no, but if you can garnish me a load of subs that you've gathered because you've managed to do much better than me. I don't know how many videos you've got on TikTok. I doubt it's 100. Is it 100, Tommy?
I don't do flat Earth. That's the thing. I think
no. How many videos do you have on TikTok?
Probably 0.
Is your name Tommy?
I don't know. I've got a few hundred videos. Yeah.
A few hundred.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, you can see that about half the effort that I've put in, and you've got 16,000 followers. I've got what? 50?
Yeah, but mine isn't from flat Earth. Mine's from boxing.
It's not the.
Yours
I get that. So what you're saying is, check it out. These people covering, I don't know. Let's just say the cinema. This guy's got 30,000 subs. Okay, so doing it with Flat Earth, having done it, it's produced fuck all. Are you going to keep selling this to me indefinitely when I'm telling you I've done it and it's produced fuck all?
No.
Right, thank you.
Enjoy your show, man.
I'm not moaning. I'm just saying when you've already had somebody tell you to put the effort in, and I go,
it's not that deep, bro. It's not that much of a problem.
It is when I have got zero time to do this shit.
It anymore.
Oh my god, why am I not allowed to just put my piece across? Yeah, I've got no time to do this.
I leave it to it, man. The kids are just too erratic.
Try for the fourth time.
If I may say,
I have got no time to do this stuff. So going out of my way because Gene told me to go out of my way to make extra time to not spend with my family, to not do the things I normally do. Yeah, those things, that time's gone. So I see it as a massive waste of time I didn't have, making me irritated about it. So when I keep hearing it being sold to me about how much more I need to do for it, it just pisses me off. No, listen to what I'm saying. I've put 100 videos on there. It hasn't resulted in anything. If you're going to then say, oh, well, it's not Flat Earth. Oh, right, so why the fuck was I doing it then? Yeah, obviously you hadn't considered that when I was told that I need to put a shitload of effort into it. It wasn't worth my while.
This brings me back to the conversations that we had about taking it to the school system and the school board and showing it to them. What's it really going to do? You know what I mean? You have your platform here. It works here. Keep rolling with it. All you could do is share and tell people to come and join in on the show and get educated, because anywhere else, nobody wants to hear it. They don't really care. Nathan has his platform here.
Here's the thing, though. Here's what it is. It's not. Listen, everybody loves Nathan, and they're just trying to promote you, Nathan. They want to see you there. I see what they're doing, but you have to understand, Nathan's putting a lot of time in. He's got a family.
Yeah, you're starting all backwards. Nathan's not even moderately hot. How's he going to have success?
Not even moderately hot, exactly. I'm not a chick. I'm not covering cinema. So for all the people who have got all the best intentions because they've watched either themselves grow on TikTok or somebody else covering a different subject grow on TikTok, doesn't mean it's a unilaterally applicable thing. I tell my daughter daily, now, lovely, she looks up to her dad and she wants to be a YouTuber, But I have to explain to her, no, I had to put a massive amount of stuff on the line with a deadline to make it moderately successful. And if it failed, I had to stop and look for other work. Now, 99 times out of 100, if not 999 times out of 1,000, people do exactly what I did, put everything on the line and fail on their ass. Now, me, by working 25 hours out of 24, yeah, I've managed to just about scrape by. So as much as the good intentions people who've basically probably got a lot more time on their hands than me come along and say, you should do this, I just feel like telling them to piss off. All right, what with the extra hours I don't have ever? I mean, I'm overworked. That's the bottom line. At the moment, I'm doing extra stuff, which 10th Man's aware of, which just means I've got 2 extra less hours in the day, right? And it's stressing me out. Stuff breaking around me, as always. That's stressing me out. And it just, you know, when someone says, go and do more work for someone who'll give you fuck all back, TikTok in this case, it just enrages me. No! What, because you've done well talking about boxing? Yeah, well, I'm not a boxer. Yeah, I'm the most suppressed subject there is. So all it is work. Huge amounts of it for no return. No, I don't want to do that, thank you. What, shouldn't be pissed off when you've got the best of intentions, telling me to do work? No, sod off.
Yeah,
Hey,
I went
clearly,
through that.
Tommy,
I
what's
used to
your
want
what's your
Nathan-
boxing TikTok channel called?
Hold on.
He's gone, I think.
Tommy kicks
Uh-oh.
ass.
Tommy's ace, and I'm not having a go at Tommy. Tommy is awesome. It's just the sentiment, generally speaking. People don't appreciate that from literally the second I wake up at 7:30, I'm going through the comments in YouTube, and I do not stop YouTubing till about 1 o'clock in the bloody morning. Like, there is zero time for anything. But yet people are like, oh, just do this for me. Why? When? How? What time do I have to do anything for anybody ever? I haven't got time for myself.
Well, make time, Nathan, and make it happen. That's it. Sick of hearing you crying.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, chocolate.
What's up, Chocolate?
Morning.
What's up?
On the other hand, I'm elated to be here. I love doing what I do. It'd be nice if I had a little bit more time versus money. That's it. At the moment, the ratio is massively skewed towards 0 time. And when I did that as a rep, I took home the money. It made me a lot of money doing that. Burning the candle at both ends, working really hard, travelling all over the place, selling as much stuff as possible. That earned money. This doesn't. It just doesn't. You know, keeping the flame flickering, standing around it, trying to blow gently so it doesn't. That's what I'm doing. Non-stop all day. Now, don't get me wrong. I love what I do. I'm not going to deny it. I wouldn't do anything different. But when someone comes along and tells you to do more, you should do more. You just feel like screaming at them.
Nathan, you're the best, and we want to see the best.
Yep, didn't say do more.
We just want to see the best. I understand what they're going through. I went through it. I want to go on 24/7. Go over here. Well, now I understand. But, you know, they just want to see the best.
He knows that. He knows that. So he's done his part. Now everybody who's there that wants that, start sharing his TikTok channel. Let's see it happen.
Exactly.
No, not necessarily. Yes, from a personal point of view, yes, I'd love him if he did that. I've already said that. And you're right. Yes, great. That would be wonderful. If Tommy went out and shared me on his channel that's got 16,000 subscribers, that's going to do me favours, isn't it? Great, wonderful. If he does that, come back and say, I shouted you out on my TikTok. As opposed to, if you were on TikTok, yeah, I am. Or if you were going live, all right, well, I put 100 videos on. And so it goes on. Yeah. But the point is that when it comes to people like Tommy suggesting how well they've done on TikTok, good, more power to you. Yeah, me in this subject, it's been an absolute bind. It's a struggle. Yeah, doesn't mean the joy of the job isn't still there. It doesn't mean I don't like what I'm doing. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means it's a lot of work. And certain aspects of it produce huge rewards. And that typically is the generosity of my supporters. When they're like, at the moment, a guy who's supported me in many, many different ways, has dropped a load of cash on me so I could buy these amps that I did a GoFundMe for. It arrived yesterday, which is probably why I'm in a bad mood. And it immediately failed. Literally out of the box, it was broken. Pissed me off royally. So I've ended up having to order another one and pay for it while they RMA the old one. It's not even a day old. That's pissed me off because now I've taken all the other ones that were half broken out of commission. Taken them all out. That was about 3 hours of bloody work just for it to fail and then RMA it this morning. It's just non-stop bloody work. None of it fun stuff. You know, that isn't fun stuff. I'm downgrading all my equipment to make it more reliable. So when you do a downgrade, you just want it to fucking work. You don't want it to immediately be broken, because that's not the point of it. It's like I'm replacing something that's semi-good, half working, with something completely broken that's cost me £500. You're like, I just wanted to stick it in and forget about it. Now I'm scratching my ass going, bloody hell, I've only got one speaker to run the show with. Back to that point where it's like cobbling along with a show that's held together with bloody zip ties and dreams. Anyway.
That sounds like the lunar lander.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is. It's a joke. This ship ain't going to the moon. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Chocolate Sane, 10th Man Rising, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome, one and all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Yo, good morning.
So straight off the bat, we had Tommy Henshin. So shout out to Tommy Hench, who is a very interesting character. He's a boxer, and he goes out shouting at people, generally getting very angry and then beating them up. That's what boxers do. But he's full of bravado. He's a good guy. Check him out, Tommy Hench channel. But he had his head bitten off just because he suggested I did a bit more on TikTok. So I've subsequently bitten his head off. Sorry, Tommy, if you're out there. I love you, my friend. It's nothing personal. It's just I've had a bad day. Anyway, with that, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
I was gonna say real quick, a second shout out to Tommy, especially because he's one of the few globe heads. I want to be nice about it. That used to come on here and argue with us. That has actually changed his mind. So, shout out to you for that.
He's also fat, though, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Shout out retracted.
Well, at least someone has a radius.
You have something about Earth curve, Nathan?
No, I'm just ribbing him,
No,
saying he
yes,
could be in
that's
better
fine.
condition, you know, physically. I'm such a wanker. Tommy is in peak physical condition. He could absolutely
Yeah,
beat the
Tommy's
living
the
crap
beast.
out of me if he chose to. But me saying he's fat is just my way of ribbing him. And projection.
Well, back to your question about the distance to the sun. No, we don't know the distance to the sun, but they think they do because they think they measured a radius value to Earth, and they base it on that, and Venus being the exact same radius value as Earth. But you're going to have a radius first, which would be a geometric horizon where Earth curve would start. But we can't even see that.
I want to
Wait
labour
a
this
second.
point
How do
more.
they know radius of Venus?
They don't know the radius of Venus. They've just superimposed it, or Huygens did. But Brian is one of the only people who's harping on about this in the most concise of way, or the way I would want it to be harped on about, right? The globe Earth requires Earth to be flat to measure the grid system that it uses. The globe, that is. In other words, a prerequisite for having the globe modelled with latitude lines derived from a flat Earth elevation angle to Polaris. Meaning, you need a flat Earth to make the globe. And I want people to be abundantly and acutely aware of this. If you don't hear this and go, holy crap, I can throw in the face of a globe believer that their model, yeah, let's see that model, by the way, requires a flat Earth. Because even if they're going to superimpose the equatorial plane at the centre of their presupposed spherical Earth, it's still going to use the grid system on the surface of the sphere that they're depicting. And that grid system's come from a flat plane. Now, like I say, Brian's logic, subscribe today, has been putting that in an even more concise way than I've been. I've dragged it out a bit to labour the point. But, you know, short of saying you'll need a flat Earth for that, Brian has been saying you'll need a flat Earth to get your elevation angle measurements to Polaris to give you the grid for the globe. The globe is a flat Earth model.
Can I ask a question?
Hopefully it won't be something I need to defer to Brian, but yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just trying to gather my thoughts. So you said it's a grid system, right? So like something like a XYZ coordinate system, something like that.
Yeah, it's an
Where-
XYZ.
where-
That's just a Cartesian box, if you will. But yes,
Oh, okay. Which one of those lines is curved again?
none of them.
Oh, shucks.
And you can have curved lines. You
Okay.
can have curved lines within the grid system itself, but the grid system's referencing 0 as is the baseline for Earth. It's the same if you draw out an elevation profile in Google Earth. So the elevation profile. This was the first time we stumbled on this after the Isle of Man debate. Once the wrap-up had all been taken place and the winners and losers had been declared, I'll remind you, we lost because we were begging the question the moment we used the calculator. Once that had all been totted up, the whys and wherefores, it was, I believe, Anthony Riley who went to the elevation profile in Google Earth, dragged it across the entirety of the known existence of the plane that we dwell atop, and showed that everything higher or lower than 0 was in reference to a flat baseline. It has to be. This is the Cartesian grid we're talking about. But if you do that, if you have Google Earth Pro, just draw out an elevation profile for any piece of land, and everything, the mountains, the valleys, the whole lot, is referenced to 0, and there's no curve demonstrated. There can't be. Earth is flat. So, today we're going to cover the second part of a video that we kind of covered, but we didn't because we were doing it in the wrong order, so to speak. So 10th shared a couple of videos with us on Tuesday, and we've covered one of them, but not the other. So the other one, I'm just scrolling up now to find it. 10th, what was the title of the video?
I think Chocolate wants you to do a 1-minute one before that one.
Oh, okay. Well, that
And I'll
saves me.
Yeah.
And I'll
Yeah.
post it
Is
for
that
you.
cool?
No,
Yeah, I
that's cool.
posted it in Master B. If it's cool.
Yeah.
It's 1 minute long. It's actually nothing to do with globe bladder, nothing like that. But it's pretty good because it has to
Despite
do
what
with
you
how
might be
easily
thinking.
people can get. Sorry.
No, how easily human beings can be programmed, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's give this a go.
These
Oh,
two
well, let's do the obligatory. It's actually on YouTube. Happy days, easy to share. So go and check this guy out. Let him know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Link's going by in the live stream chat now. It's not actually a TikTok video. It's a YouTube video for a change. So check it out and let him know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. As I say, links in the live stream chat. This videographer, if you're listening rather than watching, is The Reckoning Co. Is that what it's called? Okay. Fair enough.
two circles are not equal. I repeat, these two circles are not equal. One is in fact larger than the other. What I need you to do is determine which one that is. So, please raise your hand if you believe the blue circle is larger than the red.
Okay, do you see what he just did there? He's made a suggestion and made an affirmative statement. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true, But he's made the statement, now he's forced the audience into making a decision. So I recognise what he's doing straight away.
All right. Please raise your hand if you believe the red circle is larger than the blue. All right, very good. Now, before I said anything about these two circles, what was your first instinct? Equal, right? Because they look equal. And the reason why they look equal is because, in fact, they are equal. These
Told you. So he just lied. But it forced you into making a decision, so people put their hand up regardless because they were told with a lie that they were different. Therefore, which one's different? Red or green? Well, they have to put their hand up and decide, right?
two circles are identical. Yet I got just about every one of you to raise your hand and say that they're not. So
No, you just lied to them. That's how easy it is to program people. You just lie to them.
what did we learn?
That you can lie to people and people will believe you if you're in a position of authority. If you're at the front of a stage telling people, as a authoritarian tutor in this instance, that they are different, then they are different because you've told them that as a man in authority. Me, I've got better discernment than that, or I'd like to believe I've got better discernment than that.
That you can be manipulated like that to
Manipulated, aka lied to.
believe in something that goes against your natural instincts. Just imagine as a child.
Just imagine you were told that gas doesn't fill vacuums, and you get an idea of what we're doing here.
You're taught that the blue circle is larger than the red. If you say it enough times, you convince yourself that's the truth. If you're told the lie enough times, it becomes part of your reality. And if enough people are taught that lie, that the blue circle is larger than the red, well, now it becomes part of the culture. And if that culture then passes that misinformation along to the next generation, well, now it becomes tradition.
Indeedy do. Yes, good little clip there, Chocolate.
Yeah, as soon as I heard that, I was just like, yep, that's what it sounds like. So thanks.
Okay, so the next one we're going to be doing is sort of supposed to be before we did that Make It Stop video yesterday. So this is Bill Whittle
This
again.
is, if I could, yeah, let me set it up a little bit, if I may. So this one is a guy who's an expert on the Hasselblad camera that was supposedly used on the moon when the astronauts went to a second law of thermodynamics violation place. So this guy is more of a friendly, but he actually just keeps the focus of his YouTube video on the camera, the inner workings of the camera, what could not happen. And he says on his own, the most wonderful things. I mean, we're going to love this video. It's just a different review because it's not like a baller pushing the ball.
Hey everybody, this is Gary Fong, and it is the anniversary of the Apollo 11th moon launch. I'm seeing so many things across my feed saying, wow, what an amazing achievement, man landing on the moon. And I couldn't let that go without kind of chiming in, as a professional photographer, some of the problems that I saw with the photographs that were reportedly taken on the moon.
So I'll just reiterate what he's just said in terms of who he is and what you need to do. So I'll put a link second time around in the live stream chat. Please let this guy know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Responded to your video. The guy, Gary Fong channel is the name. So the Gary Fong channel is the name of the YouTube channel. So please check him out right away. You know, go. It'll take you 20 seconds to leave a like and say Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and then just come straight back, like immediately. I mean, literally immediately. Hello, John. I need breakfast.
I do have an issue with it, and I'll show you what the different inconsistencies are, and then you can decide for yourself. Because I'm not here to say that we didn't land on the moon. That requires direct knowledge, and the only people that know...
We know they didn't land on the moon. How do we know? Because it would involve a trip via a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. So while this guy's not happy to pin his claims on that, I am. You can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, that would be the medium they travel to get this claimed picture from the moon. Then that would involve traversing a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. The sky is not a vacuum. The gas we breathe would fill the space. We'd all be dead if this was true.
know if we landed on the moon or not would be the people that were actually there. Everything else is hearsay. We either heard or we saw articles or videos of or photographs of the moon launch and landing and things like that. But so I'm going to do this in a different way and just basically ask questions from a technical perspective.
I now see why Tent wanted this to precede the one with Stop It Now or whatever it was. So even in his own disclosure, he's pointing out that the people putting the arguments to him are detailing how Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, specifically Buzz Aldrin, but more covertly with Neil Armstrong, saying that they didn't do it. They didn't go to the moon. So it would have been an interesting way to... I should have done it the wrong way around, Tenth. I should have listened.
Perspective from a professional, how could these photographs actually exist from the moon? Now, I'm saying that as an expert because I was a professional photographer for 20 years, and I shot most of my career with Hasselblad cameras. So I know these cameras inside and out. I know how to load the film in the dark. I know how to operate it, and I even know the sound that the camera makes if there's a problem with the leaf shutter. And I'm not alone. There's a lot of photographers who photographed millions of exposures with Hasselblad cameras. And for those of you very valued...
Gone, whoever that was grunting.
Sorry, my mic was open. I was being facetious. I was just disgusted. But who is this reprobate retard, by the way?
A guy who's owned and used and operated a lot of Hasselblad cameras, apparently.
Apparently. Sorry, I haven't been keeping up with flat Earth debate the past couple of days. This is rude. This is remedial nonsense.
Because?
Good to have you back, man.
No, it has to do with yesterday's review where Bill Whittle referenced the camera that came out of side of the LEM and took a selfie of Neil Armstrong. And so this guy who knows the camera in question is going to destroy it all.
Sorry, I missed yesterday, and I missed most of the context. So sorry about that. I'll go on mute.
Professionals, seasoned professionals who are experts in Hasselblads, you'll probably appreciate this a tiny bit more because I'm going to go into a little bit of technical detail explaining why these photographs from the moon probably didn't come from the moon. Now, not only was I a professional photographer who used Hasselblad cameras, I was also sponsored by Hasselblad as a visiting lecturer for Hasselblad University. And I also was the operator of Pictage Incorporated, the largest pro digital film lab in the United States at the time. And so I know a lot about handling of film, how it's processed. I know a lot about film characteristics.
As long as he doesn't attribute his knowledge to being science, I'm quite happy with this guy's credentials. I don't know about you, QE. It seems like he knows his stuff. So far, so good.
And I know a lot about the
photograph.
Pardon? It's not a photograph. We already covered that.
Oh, you already covered it? Okay.
Yeah, it's come from a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, so it's definitely not real. We can debunk that off the bat. The guy wasn't prepared to put his stamp on the fact that the moon landings didn't happen. We were, I did, and we can move on.
Chrome 160 film that they shot on the moon, and therefore I can talk meaningfully about why the camera probably didn't 100% impossible with the camera that I actually held, the decommissioned moon camera that I held in my hands, absolutely could not have delivered those images, and we'll go into that now. So this is the a decommissioned lunar surface. They basically, what they did was they took cameras to the moon, and then they pulled off the film magazines, and then they left the cameras on the moon because they're very limited payload in terms of weight. They could either bring moon...
See, he's fully prepared to buy the rest of the story and peddle it like it's true.
Moon rocks back or cameras. They didn't really care about the cameras, so they left the cameras there.
Did they? No, they didn't go at all. They couldn't have left the cameras there because that would involve a trip through a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. I'm not entirely sure why, given that you're debunking the very notion of the pictures themselves that are claimed to prove they went there, that you're giving us a rendition of the story of how they left the physical body of the camera there. Why would you do this? Just stick to what you know. Don't peddle this. You don't know this.
This is a decommissioned camera, and there's a few of them. I think they only brought one camera back from the moon. Most of the other cameras were left there.
Why does he keep doing this? Stop telling us what happened on the moon. You weren't there, you didn't see. All you can do is tell us about how the camera would operate. So get on with it.
This is the story they tell.
But
If,
he's
in
showing
fact,
you. Sorry.
Go ahead, Chocolate.
He's showing you what the problem is right now, right? He's in a dilemma because he believes it. Obviously, you can hear him, right? He believes that they went to the moon. I'm sorry about the noise in the background, but he, because of his profession and what he knows about this camera, he simply can't just let that rock. You know what I'm saying? I'll mute because I know it's noisy. Sorry.
Well, if you've watched this before, then fair enough. If his rendition of the story is to point out that the story can only be bunk based on the fact that they've claimed this part of the story is true, therefore, if that's a lie, obviously it can't be true. And now he doesn't even have to draw that conclusion. I just don't want to hear him give us renditions of the story that he's not qualified to give us as being true.
they were actually on the moon surface at all. But let me just talk about the camera. The first thing about this camera that I notice is it's a remarkably similar to the off-the-shelf 500 ELM camera at the time with a 50mm Zeiss, I think it's T-Star f5.6 lens. What made this camera slightly different is that they pulled all the leather, the cosmetic leather off it. So it was, from what I could tell, it was a bare metal camera. The film back, normally, which is a 70mm film back.
And it looks more tech, doesn't it? Without the leather on it. It look a bit too 70s. Whereas it looks really high tech like that, I would say. Probably why they picked it. It's just a prop.
This was a 200 exposure film back, which, you know, kind of makes sense. Changing film magazines in the middle of a lunar walk doesn't make sense to me, not with, you know, the big gloves and whatnot. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting is how come this isn't weather sealed? How come there's all these like holes and crevices, like right here in the dark slide, micro dust can get inside there.
This seems like basic rudimentary debunking, but fine. Oz wants me to make a funny joke. I feel obliged, so here it goes. The Globe. Thank you for the super chat, Godzilla 37.
Go between the film plectrum and the lens, dust up the lens, and really screw things up. So I didn't know how that worked. The other thing, too, is when I saw the actual camera, and I've seen it a number of times at the Smithsonian, at Photokina, is when you look at it, there's a number of things that absolutely do not make sense if you are a knowledgeable professional photographer who has shot with Hasselblads. So, number one is this. Okay, so caution, do not touch the glass surface. That glass surface that they're talking about is called a reso plate. And that reso plate gave the little squares that they used later, that they said they used later for positioning, you know, distances between things, although you could overlay the squares on top of the actual photograph and do the same thing. But the other thing that was really kind of interesting is what I saw here was the remove dark slide. Now the remove dark slide warning here, it says remove dark slide before installing the magazine. Now, if you are, in fact, a Hasselblad photographer, you'll know that the dark slide has to be in when you take off or remove the film magazine from the camera. And the reason that's the case is because the dark slide protects the film from being exposed as you're taking the film magazine on and off. Doesn't that make sense?
So you're saying that when you take the film out, like in a modern real film camera, you just have a rewind mechanism, sometimes it's manual, so that you can protect the film inside a little capsule. We're saying with this that you have to put a little dark plate behind the film itself to protect the film once you take the magazine out. Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
You don't want to expose the film or fog the rest of it while you take it off or put it back on, because that's film, right? It's sensitive to light. light and temperature, which we'll get to in a second. But so that's the reason why you have to have the dark slide in. In fact, in a Hasselblad camera, you cannot mount the film magazine without the dark slide being in. There's a button on top, and it'll catch it. It will not engage, and you cannot mount or take it off without the dark slide being in. So this thing here about remove dark slide before installing magazine, that was really strange. You know, when you are a professional at anything and someone hands you a piece of equipment that is weird, you're going to say this is weird. Like if you're a race car driver and you're driving a...
I don't see how this couldn't just be easily overcome with a Just So story from NASA, frankly, but here we go.
A Ferrari, and it has 1, 2, 3, and 5th gear, but 4th gear's missing. You're going to say, whoa, something's really weird about that, right? It's just weird. So this, being a very, very seasoned professional photographer and kind of an equipment nerd, caught me really off guard. I thought that was just really strange. So the other thing that I thought was weird is Hasselblad, or NASA, screwed, you can see a screw right here. They literally screwed on these levers so that the astronauts can turn the shutter speed dial. They're locked together, so the shutter speed and the aperture dial were locked together so that they would go in unison. And that makes sense because the exposure is set by what's called an exposure value. An exposure...
You've watched this before, Tenth. Does it get to something particularly juicy?
Yes. Be patient.
Value is the equivalent, like say for example, 1/500th of a second is equal to f5.6 is equal to 1/250th of a second at f8. An exposure value stays the same, but like a slide rule, you can move that around, keep the same exposure, but you're just changing the shutter speed and the aperture while you're doing it. So I thought that was kind of cool, except for the case that if you are shooting on the moon with a 50mm lens, which is a very, very wide angle lens, infinity is probably anywhere from 2 feet ahead at f16. It's almost infinite depth of field. So for them to screw it in, lock the two, but then make them movable, man, that's a disaster, because look what happened to this pork shot right here. 1/4 of a second at f16. Now, that's blurry, but ridiculously overexposed. What they should have been was locked down.
Hey, John.
Hey, what's happening?
We're looking at Hasselblad cameras
At 1/250th of a second at f16. Okay, so that's completely wrong. But this puppy is screwed in and dialed in. That didn't make sense to me. And again, I'm talking about if you were a race car driver and you got in and said the tachometer only goes up to 1,000 RPM, you would think something's really weird. Now, why is it like that? Are they signaling you with something, or was Hasselblad just like, whoa, we just blew it so bad? You know, it just doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. But also what really doesn't make sense, and I'm going to ask you this, just common sense here. If NASA publishes that in direct sunlight, the temperature on the surface of the moon reaches a boiling 250 degrees Fahrenheit, while nighttime temperatures, in other words, when they're on the dark side of the moon, go down to minus 208 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. 250 degrees will boil water. You've got slide film. I don't know if you've ever left film. So many of you have never even experienced film, but if you've left film in a glove compartment on a hot day, you'll expose the film. Okay, so not only will you expose the film, but the film can decrystallize and melt. Regardless, that it's not going to be good for the film to be shot or in an environment of 250 degrees. And this.
Okay, so you're saying it's not good for the film. Okay.
Source right here is NASA itself. Okay, so NASA is telling you that the temperature on the surface of the moon is a boiling hot 250 degrees. With that, we're going to take a non-insulated camera and walk around on the moon, and it's not weather protected for dust, which would completely ruin the camera, the shutter mechanism, and everything like that. And this is what really I thought was weird. It said the film had an S-star polyester base, which had a melting point of 254 degrees Celsius or 490 degrees Fahrenheit. So anyway, I put this up here, and I said, this is really weird, everyone, but as a professional photographer, how could they have ever brought back slide film after an excursion on the surface of the moon for about half an hour in boiling temperature, hot enough to boil water. I put that on,
Let's just answer that. They didn't. Yeah, it's all a massive sham. It's a lie. They didn't go to the moon.
Unfortunately, this wound up on Kennedy Space Center's thing, and it wound up on my Facebook, and I put it on there, and had to be 1,000 angry responses from the... Okay, so I just want to share this with you because you've got to see... I'm starting to realize what's called confirmation bias, where people, like, they look things up to try to confirm their bias, right? Okay, so this guy here writes, nonsense, there is no temperature in space. NASA just said there's 250 degrees temperature.
Yeah, I see why this should have preceded yesterday's video. So the guy yesterday, in the face of being told, or being verbalizing the fact that he's been told by others that Buzz and Neil are going out of their way to say that they didn't go, he is still arguing in the face of that and saying it doesn't matter that the people on the flat earth say that the only evidence we didn't go is that we say we did go. So the cognitive bias from the guy yesterday was such that even in the face of having somebody point out that the astronauts themselves who claim to have taken these pictures say they didn't go, and now we've got a guy who's saying the camera wouldn't work. You know, you'll have people who are like, these are anti-flat earthers, by the way, who will go against the rhetoric of their own priests. NASA say it's a certain temperature. It isn't. They've never been. They don't know. They haven't got a clue what the moon is. Meanwhile, they say it's a certain temperature. So in their narrative, it's a certain temperature. If you're part of that religion, globe belief, heliocentrism, then you have to understand and appreciate the doctrines of your religion. Well, one of them is this temperature. Camera guy says, nah, camera wouldn't work. That's the end of the discussion. It's not up for debate at that point, right? It just wouldn't work based on their narrative. Does it mean they didn't go to the moon? No! It means that they didn't have a camera in the place they say that they were in their narrative. But you've got to assume that their narrative's true to debunk it based on their narrative, which is perfectly good for NASA. They're happy for us to do this. This guy will still get a bazillion views for this, because it still works along the premise that you've got a sky vacuum to go to for the camera to not work in. That's why this is tolerated.
Is it okay to say that the Hasselblad would both work and not work in Narnia?
I mean, no, I would say that within the continuity of having a Narnia, in this case Sky Vacuum, you'd need to work out a story that made the camera work within the narrative. But that's why I'm saying that I don't like this, or getting a little bit frustrated with the guy, because, as Tenth put it at the start, he's not on our side. Well, no, he isn't. Because he's more than happy to perpetuate certain parts of the lie. Now, he's not working outside the narrative to try and make the camera work in that lie. He's just saying it wouldn't work within the narrative. Now, if they come back to us and say, actually, we didn't actually have any temperature probes up there. It was one of the things that we had inside, taking internal temperatures, but we didn't actually know when we gave that statement how hot it was on the moon. But actually, we've calculated that in 1969, at this particular time of the day, it was a nice 40 degrees C. It was actually quite nice. They can just change the story. They can do whatever they like. So long as you're buying into the idea of the narrative and the camera not working in the narrative, that's sufficient for them to go, okay, we need to change our narrative then. Yeah? Same goes for rockets, right? Argument is, we went up to the sky vacuum, travelled to the moon, landed on it using rockets. Right, what's the response in 2015? Rockets don't work in space. Okay, we're all clear. The playing field is space is real, and we're going to argue about whether or not the rockets can work in them. Okay, so if I describe how I can get a rocket to work in a vacuum, then the sky is still a vacuum, and we can still go to the moon, right? Good playing field. Sounds like it's stacked very much in my globe-believing favour, doesn't it? It is, like this is. Whether or not a camera will work in Narnia is irrelevant. I compare this to the gas lamp. The gas lamp hasn't had any plumbing in Narnia, has it? Right? There's little men with goat feet walking around. Who the hell's working on the plumbing for the gas lamp? Nobody. Well, it burns all the time, doesn't it? How do you get a power source or a fuel to the gas lamp in Narnia? Right. Well, that is a plot hole, a continuity error. Merely something that needs a little exposition to explain away, and then the problem is solved. because we're still in Narnia looking at a gas lamp, aren't we? What's that you say? Is Narnia real? Shh! Let's argue on the playing field of Narnia being real and whether or not the gas lamp works, or the camera works, or the rockets work. But we must work with the premise that Narnia is real first. So long as we work on that playing field, I'm happy to argue with you. The moment you point out that the Narnia bit's not real, therefore who gives a toss about whether or not the bloody gas lamp works, or the camera works, or the rocket works, yeah, then they don't want to argue with you anymore, because that's the end of the argument, isn't it?
Nathan, this is the beginning for everyone. Now, this is a camera expert. He sees that they're saying we went to the moon with the cameras he's an expert on. He says intuition tells him, knowledge of the device tells him, nah, that doesn't make any sense. Impossible. This is where he's at. He doesn't know the arguments we have as of yet. Okay. He's still under the cloud that the trip could have taken place, but something triggers him to say, no, but that camera did it. That camera never could have worked on the moon. And this is where people are when they see something weird about this model that's been hoisted over us for thousands of years or hundreds of years, whatever you want to go back to, from the Greeks to now, that we're on a sphere. And then you can go do these things. So what he's saying is a race car driver would notice that a gear is missing. Okay. Well, that's me. I'm telling you, this camera could never work where they say it worked from. So he's at the beginning stages. It's not a bad video.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I agree. In the way it's being peddled, because he's just some guy and he's come across an issue, and you're saying, well, he's still working within the paradigm. I see it as an exercise in putting a condiment on the feast of nonsense table. You know, the feast of nonsense gives you this playing field to argue on, and
right.
this buys into that. You're saying, oh, he's only on his first step of the journey. Well, when you're at the tip of the spear, you slice everything that comes near you, 10th. That's just how it is.
Right. But that's the point. If we don't watch this video and compare it to the tip of the spear, we can't teach the audience to do what we're doing. And we need this video, a little bit of a friendly video, to show it's still the feast of nonsense. But the guy says, my antennas are up. Something's wrong. I don't believe this ever went to the moon.
Yeah, he's got the intellectual honesty to say, in my profession, this story makes no sense. But because of my belief, I have to somehow defend it or find out what actually happened, as opposed to, let me just throw the whole thing out altogether.
He doesn't defend
It's a view into the psyche of the glober who has to come up against it. It's kind of funny when you think about it.
But the contrast here is the tip of the spear argument is going to shine at the end of this video, and the feast of nonsense is going to be no longer the way people should argue. But this guy's at the beginning of it saying, I smell a rat. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but there's no way that camera ever went to the moon.
But I do understand what he's saying. Out in the middle of space, in a vacuum, where there is nothing for radiation energy to energize the molecules, to rub them together, to create heat, which is called radiation. It's thermodynamics. So there's three ways to heat an object. One is radiation, second one is conduction, and the other one is convection. So conduction would be just touching things together, right? So you touch your hand on a hot plate, and that's conduction, and it's, wow, that's hot, okay? Convection is when there's a liquid around that actually lifts the temperature or transfers the kinetic motion of this excitation energy of rubbing molecules together from one object to the other. So this guy looked up something and said, in space, there's no temperature because it's a vacuum. This is correct because there are no molecules to rub together. Bravo, you're so smart. That's not the case here because a camera is an object that has molecules. So when it is exposed to radiation energy, guess what? The camera gets hot. So this guy says the temperature.
But it didn't. It didn't get exposed to anything. It didn't go through the sky vacuum that you're assuming is still in place to have this argument. Like I say, that's why I object to it. So the guy comes back at you and goes, no, in space it's like this. All right. So again, both sides have to decide whether or not space is one way or another. You see? So this buys into the notions of space, gives them all the credence they ever need, and argues about a minor detail within the paradigm that is definitely still solidified and true in both of the mind's eyes, the two people arguing here. This guy still believes space is real. Yeah? Because he's arguing
Yeah.
about how space, which isn't real, would affect the camera.
The space that he's told is real is the one that he just explained. He's not where we're at. But again, it's at the beginning of him saying something smells here. I can't exactly put my finger on it. He's in the begging the question for sure. There's no doubt. But use this to teach the audience not to even go there in your summary at the end. Because when people start looking at flat Earth, they have intuitions that they have to push down because of this. And this is what this guy's trying to do, trying to explain it meaningfully as best he can until he hears the stronger arguments. He said, you know what? Doggone thing doesn't even exist.
Okay. Well, what I heard was him arguing about what space would have on the camera. So, okay.
You're right. He
So,
did.
hold on, I'm not done. So, how we would perceive the gas to be fed via the, I don't know, the field that is laying on top of the snow that naturally pulls all of the gases towards the metal on the lamp so that it can absorb it through a little grate that's at the bottom that you can't quite see because it's covered in snow. So that's how it works in Narnia. Yeah? We all clear? Narnia's real within this context. You understand that, right? When I tell you about how the gas got to the lamp? To debunk it? Now maybe you could explain how that isn't the case and gas won't pool on top of snow in Narnia. And so it goes on.
If he can give himself a plausible explanation how this thing that can't work in Narnia is working in Narnia, that's all he needs. All he's looking for. He ain't looking for flat Earth.
Exactly.
Temperature of an object in space depends on irradiation density, albedo. Albedo. I had to look that one up because very few people know what albedo is. And albedo basically means the reflectivity of an object such as a piece of paper or planet or whatever. So it's albedo. Hey, baby. You know, I'm so smart. I like the albedo of your white dress. Anyway, okay. So to increase albedo, the camera was covered by a white envelope. Oh, really, was it? Where did he see that? This greatly reduces the temperature of the camera. But if it's in space, the camera has no temperature, according to you. Water, for example, boils at room temperature in a vacuum. There's no temperature in space. Water boils at room temperature in a vacuum. Smart guy. And then, is it the same guy? No, a different guy says, well, the temperatures went even higher, maybe 340. The thing is, being actual scientists, they use the Kelvin scale, which you've never even heard of. Really? That's kind of weird. I have a degree in pharmacology from the University of California. You've never even heard of, which makes 250 about 9.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So 340K is a bit warmer than 9.5 degrees at 170 degrees Fahrenheit. As to the length of the lunar day, have you ever seen phases of the moon? All you've got to do is look at the thing, as people have been doing for millennia. You think you're sticking it to the man when really you are just displaying astounding levels of ignorance.
Sound familiar? Yeah, well, the problem is, mate, you're arguing within a paradigm that they've got control over. It's their paradigm, right? Your paradigm too. Isn't that weird? How you're being called thick? Because you're disagreeing with somebody in the paradigm that you're actually defending when you talk about how things will or will not work in Narnia. I mean space. Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? Now, I don't have that problem. Yeah, when these Muppets come to me, I tell them, no, space isn't real. What's that? It would have the right temperature in your version of a place that doesn't exist, out of space, sky vacuum. Sky is not a vacuum. Yeah? Dude, Gary, you know how vacuum works? Yeah? What would happen to the gas pressure we're breathing if the sky was a vacuum? For you to argue about how the temperature's going to be affecting the camera in an area that would have all of the gas we're breathing immediately vacate into it. We'd have never developed gas pressure in the first place if we were in a vacuum. If Earth as a ball was in a vacuum, the first molecule of gas would come out of the ground and immediately sod off into space, never to return. And every subsequent gas particle that ever left the ground would immediately vacate into the space, never to return. Because there's no containment. So, in your paradigm that you're arguing about how space is real, we'd all be dead in reality. So it's meaningless nonsense, but you're going to, what, concern yourself with how this dick who's commented on your video is telling you how space, yours and his religious belief of it, works? Right, okay, yeah. Appeal to how well educated you are and how dumb he is. Yeah, I'll do that when I point out that you're arguing in Narnia. Yeah, I've got the right to do that because I can debunk both of your positions simultaneously. By pointing out that space isn't real, it's a violation of natural law. Second law of thermodynamics, sky vacuum, isn't real. Yeah, you talked earlier about
Bravo.
certain laws of nature, didn't you? Thermodynamic laws? Yeah, maybe you should have looked a bit further into those laws before just cherry picking out the bits that work within the paradigm you're arguing against this commenter with. Yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
Bravo. This is a summary I was looking for. Good job.
Oh, I've never heard of the Kelvin scale. So here's what he was saying. It's like he's saying it's 250 degrees Fahrenheit, but because they're scientists, they use Kelvin, which is therefore about 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and so it wouldn't have even gotten hot. Okay, so I said, okay, so this is like me saying I weigh 180 pounds, but since I live in Canada, where we use kilograms, I actually weigh 82 kilograms, so I'm really light. I said, that's what you just did. You changed the units, reasoning that K is what scientists use, but kept the value the same. Okay. So
in space. So we're changing the value of the weight of the gas that's crawling along the snow in Narnia. Well, you've said that the weight of the gas in Narnia is in kilograms. I'm saying it's not in kilograms, it's in pounds. All right, but gas expands in all directions to fill whatever volume it's got. It doesn't crawl along snow, and gas lamps can't culminate in a little grate that has the gas pouring down into it so that it can power itself. Those things are all not real in Narnia. Yeah, the entire place that's being described for us to have this argument doesn't exist. In this case, outer space is fake. We haven't got a sky that's a vacuum.
So that's like going to the...
Good.
Sorry, am I mistaken? Did I hear him describe earlier what happens to water in a vacuum? Or was I mistaken?
That's correct.
Did he say water boils in a vacuum?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. What's Earth surrounded by?
A vacuum.
And what's maintaining the outside of this spherical shape?
In the sky vacuum in the heliocentric model that we don't live in, nothing. There's no containment.
Yes. No, I meant like water.
Oh, yeah, there's water
We're
claimed to be on
by-
the outside of the ball in the vacuum. That's right.
Exactly. So he just described how water acts in a vacuum, but yet still believes it's a vacuum and still believes we're surrounded by water. That's it.
doctor, and the doctor's saying, your temperature is 98.6 degrees. And he says, I don't understand that. I'm a scientist. Can you give that to me in Kelvin? So I'm learning a lot about confirmation bias, is that people, first thing that happens in their process is they get mad that I dare question that we've even been to the moon. I didn't say I questioned that we've ever been to the moon. I'm just saying that those photographs did not come from the moon. They absolutely did not come from the moon. If they didn't come from the moon, then where?
Yeah, where they came from is irrelevant when you're saying they didn't come from the moon. So other than those photographs, given that those are supposed to be evidence of us being on the moon, what confirms we've been to the moon for you to argue about with the trip that took place in a sky vacuum to get there? Yeah, there's not a lot, is there? So why wouldn't you be arguing against us going to the moon, given that the pictures that are claimed to prove we went aren't real according to you? Can't take that next step? Yeah, it's because you already know you've had a taste of the ridicule you will receive, eh? Right, so you can't grow a pair of balls this quickly.
Where did they come from?
Who cares where they came from? They didn't come from the moon. The question is not, well, where did they come from? Not the moon. Yeah, that's not the conclusion. Well, I must know where they came from. I must appeal to the liars to find out where the pictures did come from. Not from the moon.
Home set? I don't know. The other problem is that's a motorized camera, which had nickel cadmium batteries. We didn't have lithium ion batteries then. We had NiCads. And the thing is, NiCads can safely reach 40 degrees Celsius without damage, which is about 100 and maybe 100 degrees. Okay. Any more than that, then it can explode. So now you've
I'm sorry, I didn't understand any of that. Why didn't he give it a in Kelvin? I don't know.
got it in. I want you to do me a favor. I want those of you who are really skeptics, I want you to take a battery, a NiCad battery, maybe lithium ion. They're better for heat, but put it in boiling water and you tell me if it explodes. Let me know how that goes. The other thing too, that
I wouldn't suggest you do that. I mean, you can if you want, but I wouldn't necessarily put that out on my channel. Maybe add a disclaimer under his. Do you have a
You
disclaimer?
know what's more interesting to me?
Go on.
I'm sorry. What's more interesting to me is the psychology of it, right? The fact that he's sitting there talking about how he gets the hate that he gets, right? Because all he's doing is questioning it. Now, that's something important, I think, for like normies and anybody that's new to this to understand. Look at the hate that this guy's getting. And he still believes he lives on the ball. He still believes people went to the moon. But look at the hate that he's getting from his own side. It's incredible, isn't it?
That's it, Chocolate. That's what everyone needs to see here. And then they're going to see how we argue compared to the way he argues with the begging of the question. This is why this is a multifaceted review you're doing here.
That was really kind of iffy about the story of this Ektachrome 160 film coming from the moon. Now, again, I'm not going to expand outside of it. As we say in court, we say that we are going to focus on the issues within the four corners of the document. I'm here to talk about the film. Did it come from the moon or not? And I'm saying there's problems with how it's represented to us. And
there it is. Yeah? I'm not saying it didn't come from the moon. I'm saying there's problems with how it's presented to us. So if they change the way it's presented to us, in other words, make up a story that makes it seem feasible, you'll be happy then. Right? You'll go back to the commenters and go, no, I found out that NASA said that blah, 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 therefore it would work. And everything's cushy now. Right? So it's just problems with the presentation. Oh, right, I see. Yeah, right. Sad. Grow a pair of balls. Yeah? Face the reality that you have uncovered. Yeah?
as a person with a background in science and physics and photography.
What did I say at the beginning? If he doesn't start ascribing his knowledge to science, I'll like him. Failed. Telling me that you, with your cameras and your developing films, have established cause and effect reasoning with systematic experimentation to call yourself a scientist? I'm thinking no.
Photography and a lab processor. I'm saying that film did not come from the moon and was exposed here. The other thing, too, is X-rays. X-rays occur on the moon, high-level X-rays. And so when those...
No, they don't. You have no idea what happens on the moon. Why are you saying this? So you're just parroting off what the overlords have told you via television and pictures, some of which you've exposed yourself as being fake, but you're more than happy to peddle the rest of their lies. How short-sighted. I appreciate that you're peddling how X-rays work in space, but simultaneously saying these didn't come from the place they said they came from, not realising that the very place itself isn't real. Oh, well, I've got to forgive you for that, according to 10th Man. Not good enough as far as I'm concerned.
No, I didn't say forgive him. Expose everything on this. That's why it's multifaceted. You're able to teach your audience what's happening here from every point of view.
Yeah, Nathan, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
And you would have to put it through the TSA machine, but a lot of people would want to take the film out so it wouldn't get exposed in X-rays. Do you remember that? Or are we so far into digital now? Those of you who do remember that we took our film out over ISO 400 because that was very more light sensitive, made it more X-ray sensitive. We took it out because we didn't want to get it exposed to X-rays. Unfortunately, there's a lot of X-rays on the moon. How much X-rays are on the moon? They don't even know if an astronaut can survive it.
Survive? Well, what? Where the pictures were taken, where you know is not real and hasn't been taken there, but yet you think that they don't even know. So that's a grey area. I mean, they could just come back and say there's no X-rays. Would that be a better way of presenting it? Oh, we were wrong about the level of X-rays on the moon, you know. Turns out, after sending a probe through a sky vacuum that would leave us all dead, we landed on the moon again with a remote ship, tested the level of X-rays, and what do you know, zero! Wouldn't affect the camera at all. And all it cost was 20 million. Cheap. Very cheap. Would that be a satisfactory way to present this? Go ahead, John.
Narnia is very different than the physics we experience on the ground, so we have to take that into account when we talk about this camera.
Well, I mean, personally, I think we should invest another 10 to 20 billion into establishing exactly how different they are in Narnia, because only then will we know. It will be very expensive, and undoubtedly not progress humanity in any way, shape, or form, but we will know the amount of X-rays to the decimal point. I mean, it's going to be very accurate, but it's going to cost several billion. And I think we all would agree that that's an extremely valuable investment to make. Because then the presentation would be better in terms of whether this camera would work.
It says
Exactly.
lunar astronauts could be harmed by X-ray outbursts from the sun, and it's an X-ray danger. That's really weird because we've had like 8 manned landings on the moon. I don't know how many.
Have we? You've seen them? Did you watch them? Have you got pictures from there? All right, the pictures are all fake, according to you. But we've still been. There's been loads of other men there that haven't suffered X-ray damage. Oh, right, really? Why are you saying this? Yeah? You've exposed somebody as a fraud. But check out what else the fraud had to say about the level of X-rays. No, it doesn't work like that. They're frauds. That's it.
Astronauts have actually been on it, maybe 12, 16 or something like that.
Were the pictures from all of them? Maybe you could debunk the pictures from the rest of them too. No, it's just this one little bit that's a fraud. It's just the use of a Hasselblad. They didn't want to tell us about the secret cameras that they had. There you go, I've given you a better presentation for free. Yet while they said that they used Hasselblad cameras, they didn't want to expose the pinhole spy cameras that were isolated from everything that you could possibly want them to be isolated from. They just didn't want the public to know how easily they could be spied on. Didn't you realise? I mean, they're not going to tell you, but you would understand a Hasselblad, it's a camera. So for the public, for you, the numpty, they showed you this. So you could have something to really get your hands on in the Smithsonian, feel like you were a part of it. If they just showed you a little hair and told you there was a lens at the end of it and it was micro nanotechnology, that they were way ahead of their time because they got it from the aliens, if they'd have told you that, you'd be scared, wouldn't you? Now, you might be scared as I've told you about the aliens they got the technology from now, but I only hinted about it and I won't mention it again. So you can be scared of that now, until 20 years from now and you figure out a part of the narrative that doesn't work in this bullshit story. But ultimately, the cameras they were actually using were part of the secret technology that we got from the aliens that came from Mars, and they didn't want to scare the public, so they showed them the technology of the cameras of the day. What's wrong with that? Sometimes they've got to tell a little white lie to not scare the public about the aliens from Mars and the secret alien technology that they've been using all along. You know, that sort of thing would have scared them now, but to undo this problem with presentation, we're telling you now. Happy? Now piss off and believe in space. That's what NASA would tell you.
But we now know in January of 2007 that moon astronauts may face X-ray danger. Well, if they may face X-ray danger, then the film definitely faced X-ray danger.
Did it? So if the liars and frauds that say they went to the moon and claim they got pictures to prove it that were fake are going to suffer radiation damage or X-ray damage, do you not see the problem with this logic? You don't see the flaw in this? No? Not obvious? Well, you're very educated, aren't you, like you spoke to your commenters? Very clever.
But then I started researching a little bit.
It wouldn't have caused any damage because they didn't know they went to that region of space.
I was waiting for that. Nathan, that was a classic rant you just had. That's exactly what this video was meant for. Perfect.
Oh, well, while I humbly agree, Chocolate, can you reiterate that point? Because that is a specific detail that the NASA astronauts did disseminate themselves. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Yeah, when one of the astronauts, I believe it was Alan Bean, was asked about the supposed Van Allen belts, this dangerous portion of radiation between here and the moon, he denied that he even went through it. And when told by Bart Zabrell that, well, you actually did go through it, then he automatically remembered that he went through it, and then remembered that he had side effects from going through it. Only then. But before that, he didn't know.
Well, that's not as bad as the guy who said, we can't even send anyone until we figure out how to protect them through it.
We need to figure out these problems before we send people to this region of space.
Yes. That's just a presentation issue you guys are talking about.
About these Van Allen belt particles, and there's a band of radiation that's impossible for anyone to pass through and live. And so I thought, that's really kind of weird, especially now that NASA has just announced that they're sending two mannequins to the moon. Why? NASA will send artificial females to the moon to study the risks of radiation.
So they're sending dummies to the moon. They're just laughing at you, Globers. Yeah? They saw how well it went down when Elon did it. Nobody objected. Now NASA are sending a couple of dummies too. Yeah?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nathan. NASA already did that in 1969. They already sent dummies up.
No, they didn't. You can't send people through a sky vacuum.
Is that how it works now? Now you send people through things and then you send the dummy? That checks out.
That's, all those car crash tests. The real people died first, then they decided to use dummies.
Yep.
This is going to make a great movie flick in 30 years from now. Sex dolls in space will sell out at the box office.
Yeah, it's a very, very
My goodness, did we not have a whole bunch of men just walking around on the moon, leaving their footprints all over the place? 2 artificial female bodies called Helga and Zohar will be sent to the moon. According to NASA, they travel around the Earth's satellite and for the first time measure radiation risks to women's bodies before the crews fly there. So, my boobies, my fallopian tubes are getting radiated. I'm just being silly, but why is NASA sending mannequins to the moon 50 years?
They're not. They're not. They're just laughing at you so that you can question why they'd be doing it or how they'd be doing it or the flaws with how they're doing it in an area that isn't real. Why would they be sending robots through the wardrobe to Narnia? I mean, why would they be doing it? Why not? Didn't they send Edmund through the wardrobe? Didn't they pick up coats and do it with real people? I mean, why would they? No, I'm just being silly here. That's the essence of what this guy's saying. Why do we need to send robot dummies through the wardrobe to Narnia? Let's just do it for real. We did it back in the day.
Years later, after so many men walked around the moon
So many of them went through the wardrobe. They just grabbed coats. Why do we send automatons now through the wardrobe?
To the point that we stopped going. How many times has the U.S. landed on the moon? 6 crewed missions to the moon landed a total of 12 astronauts, all men, from 69 to 72 in a series of Apollo missions numbering up to Apollo 17. Okay, so that's basically what they are. So Helga and Zohar are these artificial crash test dummy female robots that were conducted with NASA, the creator of the Special Protection Vest. This is considered the largest experiment made for studying radiation exposure related to astronauts outside low Earth orbit. So we are trying to find out if people can live and survive
in Narnia
on a moon landing 50 years later after we landed on the moon. And again, so back to my topic.
Can
This
I just
photograph.
ask a question there? Oh, so we're trying to find out if you can go somewhere and survive, even though he's just said we did it 6 times already. The contradiction, even if you give them everything, the contradiction within what they're claiming and the waffle to try and give a reason why, and I don't know what an artificial woman is either, unless he is just mean a mannequin. But the self-contradiction, even if you give them space, is rather glaring, isn't it? They're doing this mission to prove that it was safe for the missions they've already done. As Chocolate said, it's like testing on humans first, then send out the dummy, isn't it?
No, it's like saying this Clinique makeup that is used the world over, we're going to send it to the lab to chuck it on some bunny rabbits and give them mascara and stuff to see if it's safe. What the stuff that's already being used. Yeah, so long as we work on the premise that we've already been to the moon, this guy who's talked about confirmation bias is now in cognitive dissonance. Because he's literally debunked this picture's probably come from the same bloody camera. Right? But he's more than happy to lean on the fact that we've already been and say that it's an objection to us needing to go again. Yeah, we didn't go in the first place, and you're unraveling one aspect of how we didn't go in terms of the validity of the pictures that are supposed to prove we went. The cognitive dissonance level's off the scale.
Possible. Implausible to impossible. 9.995 on the 10 scale of bullshit. That film could have come back from the moon looking like that and even delivering any kind of exposure. Those of you who are knowledgeable about this, please comment. And
4 days, push. Engine arm is out.
This footage has got the string in it.
I'm going to get the pro. 99, proceeded. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Right away, Houston. That's your grid.
I faded out.
New tax year.
Faded to an ad.
Businesses
Bummer.
start here.
Anyway, yes, they're very good. Right, so this guy, take 10th's attitude, not mine. Yes, at the tip of the spear, you are going to get cut if you come anywhere near it, if you're not a sharp. But I don't see it as an excuse. Whereas 10th man's like, look, he's exposing something that he's come across, and more power to him. He's just at the beginning of his journey, perhaps. Well, I don't know. He wants his paradigm. He's on his path to being an anti-flat earther, if nothing else. That's about as far as he may go. In fact, he's probably 90% there just in what he said in this video. But either way, let him know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Yeah.
Please do this immediately. So if you're in the live stream chat, there's about 120 people in there now. It went up to 125 at one point. So, woohoo! Thank you for sharing the show and all the rest of it. But there's a link going by in the live stream. So, literally, if you could, do this immediately while the show is live. We'll stay live a little bit longer so that you can come back and we're still here and everything's still comfortable and familiar. So yeah, just click on the link now that's going by in the live stream chat and just leave the guy a little message. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, love your video, and leave him a like and help him in the algorithm. The whole point in doing this is so that were this chap to respond and say, well, actually, no, I listened to your video and appreciate that the second law of thermodynamics, which I did refer to in terms of thermodynamic laws, would debunk the notion of us having a sky vacuum at all, and now I appreciate that the entire thing's a complete lie. That's why they're putting dummies in space when they've already been to space, because there is no space. It's just Narnia by comparison. You can't have gas pressure without a container. We'd all be dead if the sky was a vacuum. When you look at the night sky and go, wow, space, it's so beautiful with all the stars in it at millions and trillions of miles away, just bear in mind that as you look towards the horizon, that black bit, which is claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 Tor in the night sky, is touching the horizon. Right? So, in other words, you've got a sky vacuum next to gas pressure. That's a violation of natural law. Gas would fill the space. We'd have never developed gas pressure in the first place. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. They never went to the moon. They never traversed the sky vacuum. They never waved goodbye at the Kármán line to gas arbitrarily going down, go boom, boom, when it reaches a point that they can measure the volume of atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, when air doesn't arbitrarily take the shape of a sphere. It fills the volume. It's a law of nature. The same one that debunks space and space travel and outer space and sky vacuums and trips to the moon. It debunks all of it. So if he came back to us and said, yeah, I appreciate all that now, then fair play. That would be the only circumstance probably where he'd actually put a link to my video and commend me in any way, shape or form, or offer me any support in the heavily suppressed algorithmic world of YouTube. But that's the vain hope that I put out there when I ask you to go and let them know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, as I hope you're all doing and still hearing me waffle on as you've now come back having done it.
Nathan, he's not going to do it, Nathan. Listen, he will never attach himself with flat Earth. Never.
No, but he might respond.
Never do it.
I get that, but he might respond. And in so doing, the sentiment, the point in me sending to, my audience to him, as limited as my audience is, when he's got 175,000 subscribers, I've got less than 25,000 subscribers, would be so that he helps me algorithmically should he respond. And he can only see that I'm helping him algorithmically by sending my albeit very limited audience to him to help him with comments and likes in the algorithm. So I'd hope he'd do the same in return, is all I'm saying, Neil.
Yeah, I understand that, but if he turns out to be anti-flat earther, which I think he will, I agree with you, they don't want this getting out. They want to suppress it even more. I hope he does.
No, you're missing you're missing the whole point here. The guy is an expert in one field. It's the only one that shines any light of truth to him about the bigger lie that he's involved in, doesn't know about. And that's the camera knowledge he has. Then when he says stuff, he gets hate mail from the opposition, and he says that's confirmation bias. There's no way this film ever or that camera ever went to the moon and took these pictures. That's BS. He said it. So he's got that much going for him, but he's still under the bigger lie. And he's got more hope than anybody, actually, because he already saw a flaw in it.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all. I didn't hear that at all.
No, neither did
Well,
I.
were you listening to what he said? It
Yeah.
was BS. This thing never
Intently.
came from the
Listen to the
moon.
whole thing.
Yes.
Listen to
Okay,
the
so
whole thing.
that part is bugging him.
It's okay to disagree, 10th.
No, I know. I'm hoping for the best. I'm just saying this was a perfect video of within the begging the question where someone actually says, okay, I see something wrong. I'm not ready to be a flat earther yet, but I see something way wrong about this.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
He believes the whole thing still, but there's a little bit of doubt now. And he says they're lying about this. That I'm 100% sure.
But I still think they went to the moon.
Well, who cares? That's not my problem. I'm just trying to show that when your instinct and your knowledge tells you they lied here, keep going, because then you're going to find out they lied about the whole thing. That's up to him now. But the point is, he at least is saying something that agrees with our point, even though it's not the exposure of the whole lie. It's part of the lie in his time of life right now.
You're right. You're right. And that's what happened to me. There was one thing, and then I searched and searched and searched. So all we could do is, hey, if he does, he does.
Yeah.
Promotes Nathan, promotes flat earth debate. So, we need to have these millions and hundreds of thousands that all these other meatballs have.
Nah, we're too suppressed for that. The point is that here's a channel with followers because the topic is cameras. He would not have those followers if the topic was flat earth.
I agree. And Tommy, hold on, Tommy comes on, and he has thousands too, but he's talking about boxing.
There you go.
Suppressed.
There you go.
You ever notice it's the fanboys that find the continuity errors?
If they pay attention close enough, yeah.
Well, when you're an expert in one field, you cannot lie to yourself about that one field. And this guy at least has that going for him.
We don't have
Well, that's the
time to
thing,
read about the Flat Earth Society.
Well, that's the thing, though. You gotta be paying attention to it to see it, right? So it's always the fanboys that are going to notice it, or
Well,
us.
he's challenging it. Yeah, he's challenging it even as a fanboy. That's the beauty of it. And if he only knew the better arguments and what begging the question is, he wouldn't even have done it. I think it was a
But
good.
he's not really questioning the paradigm.
Not for nothing. I wanted to be a fanboy of this shit. It just like even as a kid, it just never made sense. I could not make heads or tails of it.
Well, yesterday, Bill Whittle said. Yesterday, Bill Whittle said that the side of the lamb opened up and the camera came and took the selfie. So there you go. And today, the guy said impossible. That's the whole purpose of these two videos.
I remember my
It might
father.
be that
I was. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say it might be that it doesn't make sense to anyone. They just appeal to someone else who may know better than them, and then the people at the top are too afraid to point out that they don't know, or they just blatantly say it, like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to appeal to his science side, whatever. But he he even said it. He described how water acts in a vacuum, right? He said it himself. Nobody had to coach him or anything. He said water boils in a vacuum. But while believing that we're in a vacuum suspended on a ball covered in water. But yet,
Yeah, he's got.
the pictures on the camera, that's what affects him. Right? Everybody
Well,
has their thing.
Yep.
You know, I've said this before. Everybody has that one thing that's going to irk them and tap them on the shoulder continuously. Now, he might let it go. He might just say, whatever. But because of his, what seems like a little bit of intellectual honesty because of his profession, I don't know. You never know what direction he can go. You know?
I'm not trying to convert this guy.
I was just going to say that.
I'm not trying to convert this guy at all. I'm using him to offset what Bill Whittle said yesterday about the camera on the moon. That's all I'm using him for. And then if he wants to destroy the whole thing about the camera and still be in the begging of the question, that's his problem. It's not my problem. The point is that we got a 2-3 for this one. We got to show side by side these two shows. And then Nathan, that one rant he did was perfect. It should be clipped out. It should show everyone not to argue within the begging the question.
Speaking of converting, I got ganged up on my 3 boys yesterday. And they said, well, what's the matter? You don't want to convert us? I said, no. I have no desire to convert you. Everything is right there. From the Bible, which we all believe in, to the fact that you cannot gas fish without a container, the fact that every time celestial navigation is used, it's used on a flat plane. That cannot be done without it. The fact that there is a picture called the Black Swan that has a horizon probably 20 miles past where it should be if we're on a globe. It's all right there for you. I have no desire to convert you. If you want to continue to think that they're giving you truth and we're living on a spinning water ball and there's planets and one day we'll be there, then you will be deceived when the alien invasion happens.
The fake alien invasion, I take it. Otherwise,
Well,
your statement is self-defeating.
No. See why I said that? Because if that's what they're believing, they're going to believe it's an alien invasion or the aliens came and created us. Let them find out for themselves. I'm tired of it. Every time at the dinner table.
Good job.
If it makes
Well,
you
how
feel
would
any
it
better,
be
Neil,
any different if it was a fake alien invasion or a real one? How would that effectively be any different other than in their mind and they might be scared more or something?
No,
How is
the
it going to make
reason
any
why I
difference?
didn't say fake alien invasion is because right now they believe it's all real. So they will believe in a real alien invasion or whatever they're going to promote.
Yeah, but my question is, how would that make any difference? If there's still going to be things done, how is it going to actually make any difference whether you believed it or not?
It wouldn't.
Then why do you bring it up?
well, if the
Because it's the
I got
next
something to
card they're
make you.
going to play. It's the next
Yeah,
card
that's
they're
it.
going to play.
Exactly. I thought you were asking me why I said alien invasion to them instead of fake alien invasion. I thought that's what you're getting at.
Well, Neil, they're still flat earthers. The heliocentrists at their core are flat earthers first. So you can always take solace in that.
Yeah, I do, but he's driving me a little crazy with I don't know enough about the delayed choice quantum eraser. I don't know enough about the double slit. And he sounds like Nathan when he's talking. And I told him, I said, why don't you go to QE's channel? He's got a whole list and get on, because he still thinks that we as people have something to do with where those what do you call them when they go through the slit, that we have control over that. I don't know if I'm phrasing it right.
He's talking about the decoherence argument.
Well, he's saying that they're sentient, and we have control of where those where the light goes.
So you're saying he thinks that the observer is what's causing the wave function collapse?
Yes, yes, that's exactly what he said.
Ah, those people.
Yep, he said that's
But I
what
mean-
caused the wave function collapse. Is
Yeah, but it's the knowing. It's not the observation part. I don't
The
know how
knowing,
they're
right.
getting it wrong.
right.
If the observer is causing the wave function to collapse, then how was there ever a wave function to begin with?
Exactly. Because if it is based on observation, then how would we ever know that it even happens? Because we can't not observe it in order to find out.
Yeah, he's talking about a non-phenomenon that he didn't observe the cause of.
Right.
So dark matter, basically.
Well, that's his whole thing. He talks about black holes a lot. How they created a black hole with the, how do you say it, hadron collider. But I said to him, how do
No,
you
they
know
didn't.
I said, how do you know they created a black hole? What is a black hole?
It's
Don't you have to
bullshit.
know what a black
It's
hole
all
is?
nonsense speculation
what did
based
he
on
say?
absolutely nothing. That's what it is.
What did he say?
He said, CERN created a black hole with the hadron collider. Okay? But I
Created
said to him,
a
how?
black hole.
Yeah. The
That's
little one,
rich.
little one.
That's
They
the whole
create- they-
Strangelet story. Oh, they might create that particle that suddenly turns into a black hole and it consumes the whole Earth. It's really worth the experiment trying it out, you know? Really worth it.
Owen,
Keep trying.
Owen, he said, hold on, he said they're creating little black holes. But how can you create little black holes if you've never been to a black hole to know what it is to create?
Because they just call it black holes, and those are things that just happen in a microsecond. Then they unleash a bunch of calculations on that and infer that that is a black hole, when it's basically like a micro blip in some moment. It's all way over the top, extrapolated nonsense garbage. It's all science fiction, but micro world science fiction. That's what it
That's
is.
exactly what I said to him. It's all science fiction. Yeah, Ted.
I never met a midget black hole.
No, but it's supposedly meaning. It's a black hole that only comes into existence for like a microsecond before it dissipates again. Which is really good, because if it stayed just 1 microsecond longer, we would all die. Oh. That's their stupid story.
The problem
Well,
is
that
they're
black
not.
hole is how they.
Go on, John.
I was just going to say that black hole is how they go back in time and change stuff, so that like the Mandela effect is like real.
Yeah.
Deal
Well,
with it.
the problem with the whole thing is the name of the whole thing. So they're not certain about anything.
That was a bad one.
Certain. Yes, it's a bad one. So is the little black hole making fun of short people. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm 5'6". I don't care what anybody says.
What they say, little black hole, it's basically them exaggerating, trying to conjure up the black hole. It's like a micro, here I go, gravitational anomaly that's just very short. And it's also, yes, I know gravity. They don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. That's still what they think it is, even though they don't know what it is. And it lasts very long, and it's a black hole. Yeah? So they made a black hole. It's not based on anything. It's very short, but it's real. Okay?
But bro, that's not even the claim that CERN makes. That's some shit that some guy Neil knows said. CERN, that is CERN the one saying they created a black hole?
No,
Isn't
that's
CERN
out
just
there.
that? A bunch of random guys making up bullshit, not even being coherent with one another. Isn't that exactly what CERN is?
Their claim is that they are smashing particles together.
Right,
Like a hadron collider. That's what their claim is. They're not claiming to make black holes. That's some shit that Neil said.
No. He did. He showed me the whole thing. Show me the whole article where they created a little black hole. He didn't make it up. That's what they're saying
You
now.
saw a black hole with your own eyes, Neil?
There's an
No,
article.
Did you see
You're
the
not
black
listening
hole
to
with
me.
your own eyes, Neil?
You're not. Okay, listen to me, Arwen. My son didn't make it up. He showed me the article that says that, look, they created a little black hole. So it's what they're saying. And I said to him, how do you create a
Oh, an
black
article.
hole
Yes,
if you never
okay.
been to a black hole?
Articles
So that's my
that are
bad.
on
Take
the
it back.
internet are always
Jesus.
true. I know.
Yeah,
Well, see, that's the thing,
Neil,
though.
I'll take it back, Neil. I didn't know that's what that was. I'd like to see that article now.
Yeah, like Neil was only pointing to the source. He's not making the claim. So let's not beat Neil up too much.
But come on, they do that sort of stuff all the time. I can't
Yeah, but my
stop bumping into those stupid articles that always make up complete horse shit out of nothing and that take it too far. Like they break their own science. Neil, could you just let me finish a sentence without interrupting? You've been doing it for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah, because you're going on a freaking.
You should go on
nutty rant
TikTok,
about-
Arwen.
It was chocolate. not me.
I'm trying to ask you if you're all right today, Arwen. You seem slightly agitated.
You should go on TikTok, Arwen.
You just displayed.
Maybe it has something to do with every time I start a sentence, somebody starts talking over it immediately. Every single time I spoke up so far. Maybe that has something to do with it.
It happens to everybody.
Oh, isn't it true then? So it's not true then.
No, not from what I'm listening to. I'm hearing you ramble like one and a good conversation, but and then Chocolate's asked you a decent question, you turn victim. What's up, dude?
It's getting annoyed that I'm continually getting interrupted halfway my sentences by
That's
Neil
what I'm saying. I think we just
and now you're doing it again. Great.
Arwen, but sometimes you do the same thing.
Yeah, not
Right?
sometimes. All
We're
the
not saying
time.
we're
Arwen
not.
does it.
We're not.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
When do I do
and
that?
nobody's. Bro, come on, Arwen. Are we really gonna?
Arwen does it all the time. Nobody moaned
And
it.
I'm now asking for, could you please stop it?
Yeah, I was
You
talking
do
over
that
me
too,
now.
and then I do it too.
See?
Now I'm asking,
I
could
was
you
talking
please stop?
first, and you're
And that
shouting
means,
your
could
head
you
off at
please
me.
stop? Yeah,
I've
just
hardly
like
said a
when you
word all
ask it,
afternoon,
then I
and you're
stop.
screaming
Can we
at
just
me.
stop
What's
it?
your problem? No,
Why
you
are you
stop.
Problem is
screaming,
that
Arwen?
everybody just keeps walshing
No,
over
you
it.
keep talking and wanting to overtalk people, even though they started talking before you. You just did it to me there. Anyway, point I was saying is, we always do that to each other. You do it more than most, but it's not really a problem, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
It is a problem when I'm literally laying down an oversight
down?
framework of something and then somebody starts talking right in the middle of it. Yeah, that is a fucking problem. Yes.
What Adam is trying to convey here, Arwen, is that it happens to us too, but we don't react the way you do.
Oh, really? You don't? Yeah, except when you do, though.
You've just been doing it to me now.
No, we
all
just say, can we finish our sentence? Like nobody screams the way you do just now. Arwen,
Yeah,
come
look,
on, bro, you're my boy.
Arwen, you were just asked whether you were all right,
I just
mate.
get
That's all
agitated and I
actually.
get a little bit
See?
louder because I'm used to
see,
that. If
you've
people
just
start
done to
talking
me.
over me, I get louder. It's
No,
what
I was in
happens.
the middle of a sentence, Arwen, and you've just done exactly to me.
No, you weren't.
And you're doing it again. I was in the middle of a sentence. Yes, I was. And you've just done the exact same thing to me that you're reprimanding everybody else in the room for. It doesn't make sense, mate. All that was happening was, Chocolate asked you as a mate, you all right, dude? You seem a bit off. And look where we've ended up. And it seems to me that behaviours are acceptable by you, but not us. And you're holding, in the same breath, you're holding me to a standard that you're negating yourself. At that time, you're holding me to it.
Listen,
So I'll
Adam,
ask
it happens
again.
to all
Are you
of
all
us.
right, bro?
Hold on. Chocolate said it to me the other day. He got annoyed with me and impossible. But I understood what he meant. I wasn't doing it deliberately, but it seemed like I was talking every time Chocolate when I thought he stopped. But it happens to everybody. But it just seems like Owen just keeps ripping through. But anyway, my point was, how do you know they found a little black hole if they never observed a real black hole, if they even exist, which they don't?
We're back to the
Nonsense.
black holes. We're back to the
That's
black
all I was
holes.
trying to say, but that's what made all of them go on that tangent. I don't
I
know.
thought we were about the aliens. What happened to the aliens? I thought we went to the aliens.
Well, that's the end result. We know that, right? They're going to say that they created us. They have all the wisdom, and the whole world's going to follow them.
Well, that's where they are when they move to the heliocentric model, Big Bang, Darwinian evolution. Forget that there needs to be a creator. When you X out a creator, and all your movies talk about other worlds and planets and aliens, and we're being programmed for years. Well, it's not a big thing for them to produce an alien one day or something.
Exactly. Look what's
So
wrong
maybe
with
it's an extra dimensional being acting as an alien. Maybe it's a fallen angel.
But it will appear, and it will lead a lot astray. But look what Chalker presented today, that video, how easy it is to freaking program somebody, right? Simple
Yep.
thing like that. And we're being programmed daily. It's just that our eyes have been opened up to the deception, right?
Yeah, I mean, the book of Revelation is, and all the things concerning the end of days, according to the Bible, it's going to be a bunch of miracles happening. Violations of laws of nature are going to be happening. It's going to astound the world. Well, who's doing all this?
The father of lies.
Prince of the air.
Yeah, the one who was a liar from the beginning.
Would that be like saying you're going to a place that violates natural law? Would that fall into that?
No, it's going to be things that are done that are unexplainable by mere humans, and so the aliens will be the narrative probably, and they have more knowledge and sophisticated technologies, and who knows? I don't know how exactly each step will be, but I know a great deception is going to come, and it's going to come with a big old fireworks show.
Look, the only thing I know is we must solve these problems before we send people to this region of space, bro. That's all I know.
Hey, all I know is I ain't packing no camera if I'm ever going to space because the film is going to melt. That's what Chuck would say to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
And Neil deGrasse would answer and say, "Excuse me, we calculated the fuel."
Well, we've gone digital. We don't need film anymore, Chuck. We do it ones and zeros.
You know what's scary about all this is, as a flat earther, what I know seems to contradict what everyone else thinks they know. And there's sometimes when I don't know, it's kind of scary to think about that everyone else is delusional and you're not.
Well, I had it happen to me last Friday when someone brought it up, and they said, all the normal things about it. What does it matter if it's flat or round? Who cares? I'm tired of it. And I'd say, well, if it's a deception, are you tired of deception? Do you ever stand up against a lie? What are we supposed to do if we know something is a deception that they label conspiracy theory to keep people from talking to people about it? I mean, what do you do? And so some people don't want to do anything. Some people say, well, if I do that, I'll look crazy. Well, yeah, you're worried about yourself, protecting your own hide. But if I know something's a deception, I'm going to risk everything because I'm going to call it what it is. I don't care what someone thinks about me.
It's free. Doesn't it seem like it's accelerating a lot faster to these events?
Well, yeah, Bill Whittle said yesterday that the flat earthers have all this convincing arguments. Make it stop.
No.
Make it stop. The flat earthers are beating us in the arguments.
All right. Anything new over the past 1, 2, 3, 4 days? Plus today I went to sleep for a little bit because I was on tornado guard duty all night. So what's been happening?
You in Oklahoma?
Be around godly people if you don't put yourself around.
Sorry.
What?
Are you in Oklahoma? Is that where you are?
I'm in Missouri.
No, you said you were going to Oklahoma last time I talked to you.
Oh yeah. I was in Oklahoma, and then now I'm in Missouri.
Oh, okay. So it's happening in your backyard.
No. Listen, you ain't turning this around. What's happening here?
I want to know how you got on tornado watch.
Come on, give us an update. What's happening here? Where are you and what's going on?
I'm in Missouri. I was on tornado guard duty. What do you mean? What's happening? What do you think that entails, Neil?
Well, you told me you were on vacation and you would send me the Danny Faulkner emails later. So I'm thinking you're on vacation.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, you can forget that for the next couple of weeks.
No, what I was asking was, what do? You guard? Do you hunker down somewhere and watch for tornado? I never heard of that.
No, what I do is, because my local radio stations and weather stations are numpty dipshits, I go on YouTube and they have a fleet of meteorologists and storm chasers that stay live, and they update situations minute by minute. That's guard duty. So I've got them employed.
So you
must send that link to me. Hold on. You must send that link to me because we're terrified of the tornadoes down here. My wife has always said that us to the bathroom. We have no basements either.
How much money you got?
So is this like Twister, the movie, where they get in their trucks?
Probably similar to that.
That's pretty cool. Up-to-date tornado guys.
Oh, yeah. I was shocked. I was absolutely relieved because I'm tired of being in the dark. Had one of the weather radios, it fucking broke. Then, it's just a pain in the butt. Then I'm trying to get weather information yesterday afternoon so I could plan because it's coming, right? And what do you know? They take the local news off and put on Donald friggin' Trump. I lost my mind. I lost my mind. You didn't want to be around me yesterday at about 12 o'clock.
Well, Chewy, he got indicted.
There's a natural disaster about to happen, and they take. Hang on, we're going to go to this breaking news.
Yep, that's exactly what they did.
It's all a show.
That should tell you something how they care about us.
It's all a show. The whole thing's a show.
You know, when you're guarding for a hurricane, what do you do?
You know what I had in my head? as soon as he said that, I pictured him outside with his crossbow, shooting at the tornado.
Number one, I don't have a crossbow. Number two, that's pretty darn stupid.
What a compound bow? Yeah, I forget. Sorry.
Neil.
Yes, sir.
Mass debaters.
Thank you, sir.
So
He's Darwin here still.
No.
Now we're on to Darwin.
Darwin ran away.
No, Adam, maybe Curie has a tornado type of a kite that he puts up there.
So what does that entail? Like Neil said, I don't have a basement either, so that's a problem. So, but my neighbors do. We're good friends. He has one, so that's part of guard. I got to stay up and gather information because it could change in a heartbeat. And last night was one of those rare situations that we were in. What they call our area was capped. That means there was a lot of warm air aloft. That means you can't get warm air or cold air displacing and warm air rising because the warm air has already risen. Now, if it was able to, our area was ripe for EF3 to 5 tornadoes or EF3 or EF4 tornado. People were actually, these meteorologists were friggin' scared. So that's when you know that it's on. So luckily or fortunate for us, all the tornadoes were up in Iowa and Illinois. and there's some bad ones, but not. They were minor compared to what would have happened if that friggin' cap was punched through in our area. Put it to you that way. Well, around midnight, people kept asking him questions about the actual town I live in. I couldn't believe it. So there's got to be people watching the same thing I am. And he's there at 12:30. Don't go to bed. Follow?
Yeah.
Follow.
That's pretty scary when you got family.
Yeah,
That's
but Chewy,
exactly-
do you have a basement?
Jesus.
Well, because I don't. So
He said he doesn't have a basement. Neil, he said
Oh, I
he
didn't
doesn't
hear
have
it.
a.
All right, I didn't freaking hear it. Holy shit!
Well, short fuses today.
I didn't hear it. I'm doing other things. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I'm
the way
glad
you said
got
it, I didn't hear it. Okay, I didn't hear it.
Hold on a second. So you got a basement? Go in the freaking basement and go to sleep.
Thanks. I really needed to know that. Appreciate it.
At least you have a basement. Poor Neil, we get hit with a tornado. I'm Dorothy.
Neil, I don't have a basement. What am I going to do? I don't have a basement.
Okay, well, as the talks turn to tornadoes, I'm going to say we've already rounded out the live show. That's it. Another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.